This is the lesson on angles and their measures. This is going to be lesson one. So let's dive right into angles and their measures. So, first, we want to consider what is an angle? Well, an angle is formed by rotating a ray about its endpoint. The initial side of the angle is the starting position of the ray, and the terminal side is the final position. The vertex is the common endpoint, and often it is at the origin when an angle is in standard position. So what does it mean if an angle is in standard position? Well, an angle is in standard position if the vertex is at the origin and the initial side is along the positive x-axis. If angles are rotated counterclockwise, so the opposite direction from from the way the hands on a clock move, then the measure of the angle is positive. And if the rotation direction is clockwise, then the measure of the angle is negative. So a degree is one way that we can measure angles. And one full rotation all the way around the grid is 360 degrees. So let's take a look at sketching these two angles in standard position. So first of all, 120 degrees. Well, what is important to note is that if we consider that this is 0 degrees, then 1/4 of a rotation is going to be 90 degrees. 1/2 of a rotation is 180 degrees. 3/4 of a rotation is 270 degrees. Or we can think of getting back to the original starting point as 360 degrees. So when we consider sketching an angle that is 120 degrees, well, that angle is going to have its initial side because it's in standard position. So it's going to have the initial side here along the x-axis. And then the terminal side is going to be right about in here. And we can consider that this is 120 degrees in standard position. Now, if we consider negative 70 degrees, so if we are going counterclockwise, this would be negative 90 degrees down here, negative 180, negative 270. Okay, so as we're going around the negative side, so negative 70 degrees, again, in standard position, we're going to have the initial side here along the x-axis, but the terminal side is going to be somewhere right around in here. So this right here is going to represent 70 degrees. All right, let's move on to some definitions about types of angles. So a right angle measures 90 degrees, or 1/4 of a turn. Straight angle is 180 degrees. An acute angle is one that measures between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. And an obtuse angle is one that measures between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. Now, complementary angles, okay? Whenever you think of complementary, I want you to think of the word corner. And what angle makes a corner? A 90-degree angle makes a corner. Now, when we think about supplementary angles, I have another, since complementary was a C word, corner, supplementary is an S word for straight line. And the angle that makes a straight line is 180. So when we have complementary angles, the sum of those two angles is 90, and a supplementary, the sum of those two angles is 180. So when we consider this, the complement of a 30-degree angle. So take a moment and put in the comments what you think the complement of a 30-degree angle is. So remember, complement means that the sum is 90. So 30 plus what gives us 90? 60. Now take a minute and consider what the supplement, what is the supplement of 130 degrees? So remember that the supplementary angles add to be 180 degrees. So if we have 130 degrees, we would need 50 degrees to create supplementary angles. Now, the last thing that we're going to touch on with this part one is talking about degrees, minutes, and seconds. Okay? So 1 degree is equal to 60 minutes, which means that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds or 1/60th of a degree. So if we are going to convert 38 degrees and 12 minutes, we can change this and say, okay, so this is 38, and because it is 12 minutes, we have 38 plus 12 over 60. And when we get out our handy dandy calculator, we can discover that 12 over 60 is the same as the decimal point 2. So this would be equal to 38.2 degrees. Now, if we want to convert something, the decimal degrees to degrees, minutes, and seconds, well, the main part here, the whole number, we know that that's going to be degrees. So 120 degrees. Okay. And then 0.45. Well, we did up here, consider that we did 12 over 60 is equal to 0.2. So here, we can consider 0.45 is equal to what over 60? And we get that 0.45 is equal to 27 minutes. All right, so that is it for part 1. Come back for part 2 of this lecture.